Hello and welcome to News Central now on News Central Television. I am Lekan on Onabanjo. The top stories at this hour. Local government election holds in Kano State despite court injunction. Medical union JOHESU declares 7-day warning strike in the health sector. Ongoing conflict in Sudan claims dozens of lives. Details to come your way shortly. Let's begin by telling you that voting is still in progress in some local government areas as residents elect new chairmen and councillors across the 44 local council areas of Kano State. This comes as the Kano State Independent Electoral Commission, KANSIEC, confirmed that local government election across the state's 44 areas will proceed today, despite a boycott by the main opposition, the All Progressives Congress. KANSIEC Chairman Professor Sani Lawan Malumfashi announced the Commission's decision on Friday, shortly after the Kano State High Court upheld its authority to conduct the election. Justice Sanusi Maji issued the ruling on Friday in response to a legal suit filed by KANSIEC against the APC and 13 others, affirming the Commission's mandate to proceed with the election as scheduled. This ruling comes on the heels of a federal high court decision earlier in the week, which temporarily halted the election and dissolved the KANSIEC. In the meantime, suspected thugs on Saturday invaded a polling unit in Kano Municipal Local Government area, disrupting the voting process and maintained that elections must not hold. The suspected thugs, mostly youths, were seen chanting songs against the Kano State Independent Electoral Commission and threatening those on queue waiting to cast their ballots. Well, the Federal High Court in Kano on Friday had sacked all 44 chairmanship and councillorship candidates of the new Nigeria People's Party for Saturday's local government elections. The ruling was delivered on Friday by Justice Simon Amobeda following a case filed by engineer Muhammad Babayo and a faction of the NNPP against the party's leadership. Justice Amobeda ruled that the Kano State Independent Electoral Commission should accept a new list of candidates submitted by the faction led by the recognized state chairman Dalhatu Shehu Usman in accordance with the party's constitution. He further instructed that KANSIEC must recognize the list of candidates submitted by the plaintiffs. And now to discuss this, we're joined by Junaidu Aminu Kilishi, Senior Legislative Aide to the Deputy Senate President. Thank you so much, Mr. Junaidu, for joining us. Can you please unmute your device and say something so that we know that we have audio quality from your end too?
Well, I thank you for letting me in here. And as you said earlier, I am Junaidu Aminu Kilishi by name and Senior Legislative Aide to the Deputy President of the Senate.
Okay, so let's quickly get into it because of time now. Let's first talk about this. How might the conflict, looking at the conflicting court rulings now that we've seen both at the Federal High Court in Abuja and the one by the Kano State High Court in terms of halting and another one upholding the election, how do you think that would affect the legitimacy of this Kano local council election?
Well, actually, I am very much angry, and in other words, I'm surprised that the Kano State government upheld the local government election despite the court order issued by the Federal High Court on the 22nd of October 2024, because I have seen that they have rushed to the court to secure a different court order that they think is a remedy to them, which is not. Because the court has, in the first place, ordered that the leadership of the KANSIEC, which is Kano State Independent Electoral Commission, should be, disqualified, or the court has already disqualified them and dismantled them for not being qualified by the law constitutionally by the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, and also by the KANSIEC laws. So by that, the court, the Federal High Court, invalidated the appointment, despite the fact that they all know about this. They went on, or they moved on to conduct their election. I told you that they went to the court, state court, to secure a court order that will allow them, or will opportune them, to move on and proceed with their local government election. But I think they misinterpret and they misunderstand the order that was given to them by the state high court, because the state high court is not, in any way disregarding the first judgment given by the high court, because it says that they have, or it affirms that the KANSIEC has the power to conduct local government election, and nobody is challenging that. Nobody is challenging the power of, the KANSIEC to conduct, the local government election. Okay. But what is being challenged is that the appointment of the leadership, both the chairman and its members of the KANSIEC, that they are qualified due to that their appointment is not in the line with the Constitution, and even is not in line with the rules and laws of the KANSIEC itself. Junaid,
I want to actually understand on what premise that particular judgment by the Federal High Court in Abuja is premised, in terms of how the leadership of the NNPP is not valid, how it was constituted and how it is not valid. I'd like to understand that part. Were they not, constitutionally, elected by members of the party, or what actually invalidates, the leadership of the party before it was actually taken to court?
Very, very clear. When you look at the judgment issued by the Federal High Court, it has already stated its ground for invalidating or disqualifying the leadership of the, KANSIEC. They are disqualified because, when you look at the judgment, it has already cited that due to Section 200, Section 197, Section 199. And when you come to the, laws governing the KANSIEC itself, there is a law that was passed, there was a bill passed and read and signed into law by the Kano State National Assembly in 2001, which says that the leadership of this KANSIEC, if they are partisan politician, they would not, they cannot be, appointed as a chairman and members of the KANSIEC. So what invalidated them and what disqualified them from being chairman and members of the KANSIEC, and the reason itself why the court has disqualified them, it is because their appointment is not in line with the Constitution and is not in line with the KANSIEC laws and rules. So I'm even certain that the Kano State National Assembly has come out to say that there is nothing that will stop the Kano State local government to be conducted on this day 26.
Okay.
Because this is very sad for the Kano State National Assembly.
Okay, so I understand that part. Now, we've seen disruptions in some parts, in some polling units in Kano State. We've seen discrepancies in the judgment handed down by the courts, both at the state and at the federal level. And now APC also boycotted the election. Is that, in a way, going to legitimize this election conducted in the states?
Well, this is not election conducted.
Wow.
Because I have told you earlier that the court has already given its judgment that even the INEC itself should not give any election materials to the KANSIEC. So I wonder which materials have they used to conduct this election. Secondly, this leadership of this KANSIEC, they are being nullified, disqualified, and dismantled. They are dissolved by the Federal High Court. So who are those leaders that conducted this election, that make this election possible? So there is the KANSIEC out of this time, there is no leadership in KANSIEC. Then who conducted the election? And INEC has not given them election materials. So what have they used in conducting this election?
Okay, so now that we are at this point now that we are at this point, Junaidu, I understand. Now that we are at this point, is there any legal recourse that could be undertaken either by the opposition or aggrieved parties? Because you also mentioned that the Kano State Assembly seems not to be aligned to this or with this particular conduct of the elections. So in terms of pursuing the rightful position of the law in this case, what position or legal recourse or process do you think any of the aggrieved parties can actually take to right this wrong?
Well, actually, this has already been taken into legal consideration, because I have told you, and it is very, very clear to each and every one of us that the court has already made its stand, and the governor himself and the State Assembly and the KANSIEC, they are already aware of the judgment passed by the court of law. So I will tell you that this election that they have conducted today is null and void in face of the law.
Okay. Junaidu Aminu Kilishi, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you too.
Staying with local government matters, the Federal High Court in Abuja has rejected the request by Rivers State government to stay proceedings in a suit seeking to stop allocation of funds to all the local government areas in Rivers State. In a ruling on Friday, Justice Joyce Abdulmalik held that the application for stay made by lawyer to the government of Rivers State, Godi Uche, was frivolous, vexatious, unwarranted, and mischievous. The ruling was given during Friday's proceedings in a suit by the Rivers State House of Assembly and Martin Amewule. The plaintiffs are seeking, among others, to compel the Central Bank of Nigeria to withhold financial allocation to the local government areas in Rivers State. In the meantime, the Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly, Mudashiru Obasa, says only a constitutional amendment can grant the 37 local council development areas the same status as local government areas. The LCDAs were created by President Bola Tinubu in 2003 when he was governor of the state. Last week, the Lagos House of Assembly moved to replace the LCDAs with newly designated administrative areas. The bill, which outlines the structure of local governance, states that Lagos will operate through democratically elected local governments. According to the bill, Lagos will recognize 20 local government areas as outlined in the 1999 Constitution. We'll now go on a short break on the news. When we return, reactions as Tinubu issues new directives to reduce expenditure. We'll tell you more and bring you other stories when we return. Join us again. Many thanks for staying with us. Let's now tell you that President Bola Tinubu recently issued new guidelines to reduce government spending on official convoys and security. Under these measures, ministers of state, and heads of federal agencies are now limited to 3 vehicles in their convoys, with no additional vehicles allowed. Each official can have a maximum of 5 security personnel, including 4 police officers and 1 Department of State Services officer. The National Security Advisor has also been tasked with consulting military and security agencies to further reduce vehicle and personal usage. These changes, effective immediately, reinforces Tinubu's cost-saving goals, similar to his earlier move in January, which reduced entourage size for both his and the Vice President's official travels. To discuss this, we're joined by a legal practitioner and a political analyst, Towo Oseruwoja. Thank you so much, Towo, for joining us on the news.
You're welcome, Lekan.
So, how might President Tinubu's restriction on official vehicle and convoy, including security personnel, impact the efficiency and safety of government officials?
Okay, Lekan, it's just like you telling someone, let me just, to my own understanding, the best thing the president just did, President Tinubu did, which to what I understand is like telling Nigeria that, well, I'm going to buy a cup of rice and it's costing us $500,000. But however, due to the fact that we are undergoing some economic situation, I'm going to get it for 700,000 naira. So that we won't be able to be spending in millions. Remember, $500,000 and 700,000. So the president decided to tell Nigerians that, well, I'm not going to get it for $500,000. I'm going to get it for 700,000. So I just want to do away with anything that has to do with million, and let's be dealing with thousand. So if you look at it carefully, you discover that the president is basically not sincere when it comes to the policy and his action as to course of governance. When he came into power in 2023, the first thing, I think, after a gamble of how best he can manage the economy, in February 2024, he told us that, well, he's going back to the Steve led panel report, which was set up then in 2012 by Goodluck Jonathan. And the report came out in 2014. But surprisingly, that is 8 months into his administration. Surprisingly, 8 months after that pronouncement in February, he's coming out again with more ministers. And I think he should go along the record line that he has more ministers than any other president we've ever had in Nigeria. So look at it from this perspective. Why will a minister in this hard economy be entitled to 4 security personnel?
Well, is it not for security concerns? Is it not for security concerns owing to the sensitive nature of their job and the position that they occupy? Because they will say that they need to carry out their function without any form of fear, and they have to move around, so they need those security detail and aids that would actually help them carry out their job properly.
Lekan, let me tell you something. If the society is safe, I see no reason whereby the minister in question or the president in question will go out with the litany of security aids we are having about. Do you understand? We are talking about the low numbers of police officers and the low numbers of security personnel we have in line with the population we are having. And somebody in question, we are talking about now, if the Senate confirmed the new 7 ministerial nominees, we are talking about 47 ministers, then 47 times 4, times 5. You know the numbers of police officers that will be taken off duty just to secure some few individuals. We're not talking about directors. We're not talking about head of parastatals. We're not talking about some of, so mention them. And we should also talk about the new parastatals he have created, the regional, regional commission he has also created. So he has created. So if you look at it, you discover that it's just telling us that, well, we don't want to deal in millions. So instead of going for $500,000, let's go for 700,000.
Okay,
it's unfair. And strategically, let me conclude. Strategically, I think the foundation for 2027 election has just begun. His campaign has just begun by statement and the nominations and the nominees we've seen.
That seems to be by your own interpretation anyway. But then on this
interpretation, I said it at the beginning, yes.
Well, let's look at it on both sides. Now, it seems as though you are actually canvassing for the reduction of the ministries and the ministers. But then on the other side, it would the president might probably say it needs these new ministries to come on board and these new ministers to also assume position in order to ensure that his administration is efficient in terms of governance and the delivery of dividends to the people. So when you weigh the balance, which one would you be holding on to hold?
Okay, it's my personal opinion. When you weigh the balance, first of all, Legon, we have the Ministry of Agriculture. We have the Ministry of Agriculture rights, and we are now having the Ministry of Livestock. Is that not a ridicule? It's not duplication of responsibility. Then we have a minister for this, we have a minister for state. Let's look at it. If you look, Nigeria is a developing nation. And when it comes to issue of developing nation, you get to know that cost of governance determines the economic value of that particular nation. So when you are saying that, okay, you want to run all these things, that's why I'm telling you, politically is very smart and it's very strategic. The election, the road for 2027 has just been laid. Do you understand? But when you look at it on the side of the masses and the current reality of things, I just gave you an example. Now, we have so many of them. You talk about the Ministry of Niger Delta that has now been made a regional ministry. We added more parastatals of Ministry of Southeast and Southwest and all those kind of stuff. Then you now come to know that with time, as time goes on, we'll now have Ministry for Delta State, Ministry for Ondo State, just for the purpose of carrying out governance. But governance cannot be carried out in making a larger public institution. Most of this country we celebrate today are run by private sector in line with what? Okay. Government regulation and government regulation and partnership, not blossom public institutions.
Okay, so basically you are saying that this new rejigging of the cabinet is politically motivated, so to speak. So now, if we are to talk about cost-cutting measures, and we are going to be very categorical about it, let's do a comparison between what we have now and what past administrations have done in terms of efficiency and the quality of hands brought on board and the eventual outcome. Would you say it's been better in the past than what we probably might have in the coming years, so to speak?
Well, if I want to rate the Tinubu administration when it comes to issue of ministers, you see that there are more politicians than technocrats. You can have few of the technocrats who are into. I will give it to the Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation. I think to some extent he's trying his best when you look at the aspect of technocrats. But when you look at the other, basically few of them are technocrats. And if you look at their line and their career path, you know that these are little politicians than little politician and more of administrator. And if you look at the other aspect of it, you see it's more of politicians than administrators. So then when you look at the other aspect of it, you want to say that when we compare to previous administration, do you know how many departments are in a ministry? Do you know how many permanent secretaries that will emerge? Do you know how many directors, deputy directors? And these are people who will sit in one particular place doing something that one person will do, and they'll be getting enough homologous amount of money, allowance and training and all those stuff. So like I still say that this administration, to some extent, when it comes to, it's more of a political driven policy rather than reality of the economy and the masses they claim to have, they wanted to come and serve.
So invariably, this will not change the public perception as regards transparency and accountability in governance.
No, well, it's going to say, like I told you now, if you look at the level of our education in Nigeria, you see kudos coming for him, and you see the people, there are only few criticizing. And I'll tell you for free, I have a friend of mine that I followed his post on social media, and every given week I could see the lamentation over this current administration. But surprisingly, his lecturer and a family bosom friend made the new nomination list. And you could see from the past 3 days now, he has been singing praises of the administration. So it's more or less the societal perception as to how governance need to be run or how governance need to be. So, but like I will tell you for free, it's like telling Nigerians that we want to stop spending million, we want to start calling million, and start calling thousands. So instead of we going for something of 500,000, which to so many Nigerians will not know is 500,000, let's go for something of 700,000. Okay. So that is at best I can describe.
Okay, so to round this up now. Yes. What if we have a high cost of governance as we speak with this cabinet expansion, but then at the end of the day, when you look at the KPI, you discover that the outcome is fantastic. Does that justify the expansion of the cabinet?
Well, they will tell you, I don't want to quote a popular author, but I'll tell you something for free, that the way you lie your bed, or the way you made your bed when you wake up, that's how you're going to lie on it. And if you look at the body language of Mr. President and the way he handles issues, you discover that the outcome will not be different from what we've seen thus far. The outcome will not be different, but the outcome we will see is come 2027 that the second term of or the current political party, because he has not said that he's going to contest 2027, but the current political party in power will retain power in 2027. That is the possible outcome the masses should be looking forward to.
Okay.
Yeah, when it comes to the economic value and when it comes to the social and security value, I think I will underscore the cabinet currently.
Okay. To Oserowaja, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us.
You are welcome.
Let's talk health now. The Lagos State government has begun a campaign aimed at raising awareness and providing free screening for non-communicable diseases, hypertension and diabetes. The State Commissioner for Health, Professor Akin Abayomi, dropped the hint ahead of the statewide screening and public health enlightenment campaign tagged Know Your Numbers and Control Your Numbers. News Central's Bettina Mbili tells us more in this report.
Let me introduce you to sugar diabetes, obesity, and blood pressure. They are related. They may seem harmless, but each of them can quietly and slowly have a devastating effect on your health.
Lagos, with a population of about 30 million, has a 30% hypertension prevalence rate. This means there are 8,670,000 Lagosians living with hypertension. This campaign aims to raise awareness and provide free screening for two non-communicable diseases, hypertension and diabetes, commonly known as silent killers.
From the 28th of October to the 3rd of November, happening simultaneously across Nigeria in every state, we'll be attempting to measure the blood pressure and the sugar level of 10 million Nigerians. This is in an attempt to bring to the awareness of Nigerians and all our citizens nationwide and in all states the seriousness of the condition called hypertension and sugar diabetes.
It was revealed that over 30% of adults in Lagos are affected by hypertension, while diabetes cases continue to surge. Officials expressed concern about the lack of awareness with many Lagos residents either unaware of their status or receiving limited medical care.
I do not know the connection between hypertension and journalism. But how can you get into any newsroom and you test people who are there, and about 90% of them do not be hypertensive? If you measure hypertension in any newsroom, to them is something that is normal.
COVID caused 18 million deaths globally in 2020, but hypertension is responsible for 10 million deaths every year. It is just as bad, and it is continuous.
While the Lagos State government stresses its commitment to providing affordable medications for managing these conditions, it is important to note that hypertension and diabetes are now leading causes of morbidity in Lagos, impacting both urban and rural communities. In Lagos, for News Central, I'm Bettina Nwili.
From that, members of the Joint Health Sector Unions and Assembly of Healthcare Professionals, JOHESU, have called and declared a 7-day warning strike commencing from midnight on Friday. The latest strike comes after a 15-day notice of industrial action issued to the federal government. While addressing journalists in Abuja, the national chairman of the union, Kabiru Minjibir, listed some of its demands. They include the immediate implementation of the consolidated health salary structure, payment of a 25% review of its arrears from June to December 2023, upward review of retirement age for health workers, tax waiver on healthcare workers' allowances, and the immediate payment of COVID-19 inducement hazard allowance, among other demands. The body is asking all its members across the country to comply with the directive. Let's now take you to the eastern part of the country where pensioners in Abia State have denied that the Abia State government ever defrayed the arrears of pension it inherited from the previous administrations. The Abia State government, however, says it never claimed to have done so at any time. The chairman of the Nigeria Union of Pensioners, Abia State Council, Chukwuemeka Irondi, is also accusing some aides of the governor of threats and deceit. News Central's Chinwe Ogele reports.
In March 2024, Abia State government announced that it had cleared all outstanding arrears of pensions.
All pensioners, when I say all, I mean all of them, have been paid, all the arrears have been taken away.
Shortly after this announcement, I interviewed the chairman of the Nigeria Union of Pensioners, Abia State Council, Chukwuemeka Irondi, and his secretary, Omakalo, who had this to say.
They are happy that now they can buy their clothes, no matter what they have been given.
Agreement. What an agreement. The only thing is that it didn't go as we agreed. But still, all the same, we're very grateful.
Repeatedly, the governor and his aides told whoever cared to listen that the issue of pension arrears has become history in Abia State. However, 7 months later, the pensioners are now crying foul over a purported memorandum of agreement they signed with the government.
We make bold to state that the so-called and much talked about memorandum of agreement with the NNPP was a unilateral decision of the government based on the unfortunate, selfish advice of his aides.
The special advisor to Governor Alex Oti on media and publicity, Ferdinand Ekoma, says the union's allegations are politically motivated.
Government never claimed to have cleared all the arrears owed them. What government stood at was based on agreement we had, the understanding we had. We met that agreement. We fulfilled that to the fullest. Nobody is forcing you to, forfeit anything.
This sudden turnaround of the pensioners may not be unconnected with the recent allegations by some of their members that the leadership sold them out. For the senior citizens, the government has been able to pay only pensions from the time it came into being and is yet to defray the 45 months arrears owed by previous administrations.
The governors claim to have cleared 10 years of pension arrears has no basis in the union's NNPP records. The Nigeria Union of Pensioners and NNPP Abia State Council insists on a serious review of the so-called memorandum of agreement.
There are allegations by the pensioners against some aides of the governor, amongst whom is the Attorney General of the state, Ikechukwu Nwanna, who they said threatened them in a response letter he sent to the union. While both parties go back and forth on the pension status in the state, they must find a common ground to protect all concerned. In Omaha for News Central, I am Chinwe Ogele.
We also tell you that Nigerian women are calling on the government to wade into some cultural beliefs that repress their rights to owning houses or landed property. This call is coming against the backdrop of some cultural beliefs in some parts of Nigeria and Africa by extension, noting that girls and women are not less of their male counterparts as they remain equal before the law of Nigeria. Correspondent Chizoba Anyonwe tells us more in this report.
This cultural practice, where the girl child and women aren't allowed to own houses and other landed property, dates back to years ago. Women had never been comfortable with those beliefs, or whatever the basis upon which they were built.
Because of their culture and their deity, they are well educated, but they still follow their deity because they know the consequences when they don't follow that. So they keep mute, or because they don't want anything to happen to them. That is why they run away from it.
We've had women who are ministers. Are you not telling me that a woman minister cannot acquire property on her own right? You understand? So some of these are changing, and some of this culture, because of the changing dynamics, are becoming obsolete, really.
At a 2-day workshop Organized by the Norwegian Refugee Council of Nigeria in Jos, the need for a change to this cultural belief was echoed.
You need to bring out all these stakeholders to take it as their own collective responsibility, discuss their own solution after discussing the challenges, and then come up with what will be their action points.
I believe some of these cultures and traditions that allow this thing should be looked into again. And then personally, I believe if people insist, there should be punishment for it.
Just as some states in Nigeria, the Plateau State government, through the Commissioner for Information, described the practice as barbaric.
As a government, we would not be pedestrian in our thinking, would not be trivial, would not discriminate, and will continue to promote laws and good governance that will give everyone equal opportunity, not minding their sex, their age, their gender, and where they belong.
A legal practitioner put a nail on the coffin of the matter.
In a plethora of authority, the Supreme Court have made it clear that female child can inherit, irrespective of cultural background. Section 42, sub 1 and 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended is also clear that all of us can benefit, both a male child and a female child. Any culture that is against Section 42, sub 1 and 2 of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is repugnant to natural justice, equity, and good conscience.
With the depth to which such practices have gone in Nigeria, there is no doubt that more awareness needs to be created to sensitize the public on how those norms violate the Nigerian Constitution as amended. In Jos for News Central, Chizoba Anyonwi.
Coming up on the news. Ongoing conflict in Sudan claims dozens of lives. We'll tell you more when we return. Stay with us. Bringing you all the stories now, Mozambique's capital, Maputo, awoke to wreckage on Friday as protests overnight turned violent following the ruling party Frelimo's re-election after 49 years in power. Hundreds of opposition supporters demonstrated, rejecting what they called a ballot stolen by a corrupt electoral commission, which on Thursday announced that Frelimo's candidate, Daniel Chapo, had won the October 9 election with 71% of the vote. As the election authority, widely accused of acting in the ruling party's favor, was announcing the results, crowds gathered in multiple cities. Protests escalated, with rioters setting fire to tires to block avenues in Maputo and scaling Frelimo's election billboards, including destroying them. Some also threw stones at riot police, who fired tear gas to disperse them. In central Sudan, the Rapid Support Forces have launched a brutal attack on villages in Abia State, killing at least 50 people and wounding over 200 in Al-Sariha alone. The villages of Al-Sariha and Azraq have been under siege since Friday morning, with the resistance committee in Azasia reporting that they are unable to evacuate the wounded due to ongoing bombing and sniper fire. This latest attack is part of a larger pattern of violence by the Rapid Support Forces, who have been accused of ethnic cleansing and killing thousands in West Darfur. Still ahead on the news. Iran says it has a right to self-defense after Israel attack. We'll tell you more and bring you the rest of the stories when we return. Don't go away. Outside of the African continent, we'll tell you that 3 waves of pre-dawn strikes on military targets in Iran carried out by the Israeli Defense Forces on Saturday completed Israel's response to Iran in a hostile exchange between the two regional powers that has had the world on edge for weeks, fearing a dangerous expansion of the war. The IDF said it hit aerial defense systems and missile manufacturing facilities in Iran, avoiding nuclear and oil facilities in what appeared to be a limited attack aimed at deterrence by showing its military's might while avoiding a major escalation. Meanwhile, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has urged Iran not to retaliate following Israeli strikes on military bases and missile sites. Israel launched the strikes in response to a missile barrage, resulting in the deaths of 2 Iranian soldiers. Starmer acknowledged Israel's right to defend itself, but emphasized the need for restraint. He is calling for de-escalation and is working with allies to reduce tensions in the region. The situation remains volatile, with Israel intercepting 2 drones from Lebanon hours after the strikes.
I want to address Israel's strikes on military targets in Iran. This is a live situation and we are obviously monitoring it closely alongside our partners. I am clear that Israel has the right to defend itself against Iranian aggression. I'm equally clear that we need to avoid further regional escalation and urge all sides to show restraint. Iran should not respond. We will continue to work with allies to de-escalate the situation across the region.
We talk sports now. The Oyo State government is making significant preparations for the 2024 National Sports Festival set to take place in January 2025 after inspecting renovations at the MKO Abiola Stadium and Ijeja Sports Center in Abeokuta. Governor Dapo Abiodun affirmed his commitment to providing top-notch facilities. He noted that the stadium, which is 30 to 35 years old, is undergoing its first major reconstruction, aiming to make it one of the best in the country. Abiodun expressed satisfaction with the contractor's work and acknowledged the long-neglected Alake Sports Center, emphasizing his administration's commitment to restoring it for the Games. The festival will run from January 12 to 26, 2025, showcasing Ogun State's dedication to sports development.
I'm impressed with the level of activities that I've seen at the stadium today. I have been to the location where behind the main pitch, Membo, where the swimming pool, the Olympic-sized swimming pool is being constructed, the warm-up pool, the tennis courts, the handball courts, and now we're here at the
Now, head coach Augustine Eguavon has called to camp Remo Stars wing-back Ismail Sadiq, Kano Pillars forward Zikifilu Rabiu, and Enugu Rangers attacking midfielder Kazim Ogunleye among a list of 35 players of Super Eagles B for the 2025 African Nations Championship qualifying fixture against Ghana. The first leg of the fixture, which is a reminder of the qualification series for the last edition of the competition, which Ghana edged on penalty shootout, is billed for the weekend between December 20 and 22, with the return leg a week later. The winner over 2 legs will earn a slot at the 8th edition of the competition, exclusively reserved for footballers plying their trade in their country's domestic league. The finals will take place across Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania between February 1 and 28, 2025. Aqua United Wisdom Undom, Enugu Rangers Saviour Isaac, Anas Yusuf of Nasarawa United, and El Kanemi Warriors Abba Megeri are also invited to the camp that will open in Abuja on Tuesday, October 29. The Confederation of African Football Disciplinary Board has announced its ruling in a recent protest concerning match number 87 of the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers between Libya and Nigeria. Following a review at its October 23, 2024 meeting, the board has declared the match forfeited by Libya, resulting in a 3-0 victory awarded to Nigeria. This decision comes after Nigeria's team endured a difficult experience in Libya, where players and officials were stranded for over 20 hours before the match. The Libya Football Federation was found in breach of Article 31 of the AFCON regulations alongside Articles 82 and 151 of the CAF Disciplinary Code. As part of the ruling, the federation has been fined $50,000 payable within 60 days of notification. The disciplinary panel, chaired by Usman Kane of Senegal and Vice Chairman, or Chair rather, Njeri Oyango of Kenya, emphasized CAF's commitments to fair play and integrity within the competition. With this ruling, Nigeria now extends its lead at the top of Group D to 10 points from 4 games, reinforcing its position as group leader. And now, in a significant move to nurture local talent, Super Falcons head coach Justin Madugu has included 6 players from the Nigeria Women's Football League in the starting lineup for the friendly match against Algeria at the Remo Star Stadium in Ikenne, Oyo State. The team is currently leading 1-0 thanks to captain Rasheedat Ajibade, who scored the opening goal in the 24th minute. Our correspondent, that is our sports correspondent, Onyechi Obaro, is live in Ikenne, and she will be bringing us the updates looking at the match and the performance of the players. Onyechi, how would you, first let me just say good afternoon to you. I'm actually excited owing to the fact that, we have a match by the female team. But then how would you rate the performance and how the match has gone on right there in Oyo State?
For the Super Falcons, after making it to the Olympics, that this small performance, this is a match, an international friendly against Algeria to help them boost their confidence. At the moment, right now, we have Nigeria leading with the captain of the side, Rasheedat Ajibade, of course, drawing first blood here in this international friendly. The 24th minute, she had a good curler and could lead the team like a perfect captain would do. So Nigeria leading this time, 1-0 against Algeria. But it's a good thing that the Super Falcons are playing on home turf. It's been a long time. They played Grade A friendly on home turf since the Aisha Buhari Cup. So this is a good boost for the interim coach of the side, Justin Madugu, to test the ladies. He already started like 6 home-based players here with the pros, the likes of Chiamaka Nadozie on goal, and the captain from Atletico Madrid Femini, that's Ajibade Rasheedat. We are waiting to see what this unfolds for the ladies, and I'm sure it's a good test for them for the first leg against the Algerians.
But then would you say it's looking good in terms of Sport Horizon, looking at the local league with the local players that have been invited to participate in this match? Okay, well, I guess Onyechi could hear me right there. But then thank you so much for the updates anyway. We'll get more details from you by the time we're done with the match. And of course, that is Onyechi Obaro administering, or should I say, monitoring the match between Nigeria and Algeria. Of course, that's a friendly match anyway. That's the end of our package. Looking at the news for this time. Don't forget that, of course, we'll look at the major stories before we draw it to a close. Local government election holds in Kano despite court injunction. Medical union JOHESU declares 7-day warning strike in the health sector. Ongoing conflict in Sudan claims dozens of lives. Well, you can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times, channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Lekan Onabanjo.